Before we begin, comment your country so I know where this story is reaching. Dawn crawls across the high plains like a slow spilling fire, brushing gold across an empty wagon trail where no footsteps should exist. Yet one pair does. Bare, small, moving as if chased by yesterday. A lone woman appears from the horizon haze, shawl clutched to her shoulders, carrying nothing except breath that trembles like a held secret. The camera drifts low across cracked earth. Wind lashes soft dust around her ankles. Long shadows stretch behind her, but she never looks back. Her pace is steady, almost stubborn, like someone who has burned every bridge and refuses to regret it. Then she stops, at the edge of a forgotten settlement. A place so quiet it feels ashamed of itself, and she whispers only one thing into the morning air. "Let this be where my running ends." A crow cries overhead. The trail behind her is empty again. The settlement looks half asleep, roofs sagging under years of dust, windows clouded like old eyes, pretending not to notice strangers. She steps between the buildings carefully, as if expecting the ground to reject her. A faded sign creaks overhead, Creek Outpost, the kind of place people only reach by accident or desperation. A door slams somewhere deeper in town. She tenses. Her fingers twitch against her shawl, but she doesn't hide her face. Not today. She's done with that. A man emerges from behind the livery barn broad frame. Weather-worn, sleeves rolled to the elbow, the kind of steady presence the frontier rarely gives. He stops when he sees her. Not suspicious, not eager, just reading her the way a man reads the sky before a storm. "You look like someone who didn't expect to arrive anywhere," he says. She meets his eyes without flinching. "I didn't," she replies, "but I'm here now." For the first time all morning, she breathes without shaking. A crow cries overhead. The trail behind her is empty again. He doesn't step closer, but something in his stance shifts like a man weighing truth instead of danger. The morning light sharpens the edges of his face, revealing kindness worn thin by hard seasons. She studies him with equal caution, not fear, just someone who has learned to trust slowly. "You got a name?" he asks. She hesitates, not because she's hiding, but because saying it out loud feels like testing a bridge she isn't sure will hold. "Lydia," she says finally. The word leaves her mouth like a confession. He nods once. "Jonas Hell. I keep this outpost alive, or at least breathing." Long silence settles between them. Not heavy, just deliberate. Jonas gestures toward the old well. "You look thirsty." Lydia's throat tightens. Such a simple kindness, yet rare enough to feel unreal. She nods, and for the first time since appearing on that trail, she follows someone instead of running from something. But as they walk, Jonas glances at her shawlet, the frayed edge stained by a past she's trying to outrun. He doesn't ask about it. Not yet, but he notices. The water from the well is cold enough to sting, but Lydia drinks it anyway, cupping it in both hands like something sacred. Jonas watches quietly, arms folded, leaning against the beam, as if giving her space is his unspoken promise. When she finally lifts her head, droplets cling to her chin. Her breath steadies. The tremor in her shoulders eases. "You came a long way," Jonas says. "Farther than I planned." It slips out before she can guard it. He doesn't press. He simply nods toward the empty street. Dry Creek doesn't get wanderers anymore. Only folks trying to disappear. A flicker crosses her face, fear. Recognition? Maybe both. She tightens her hold on the shawl, then forces her grip to loosen. She's tired of shrinking. "I'm not here to cause trouble," she says. "I didn't think you were." His voice is low, but certain. Trouble has a different walk. Their eyes meet, brief, searching, cautious. Something unspoken settles between them. Not trust. Not yet. But the start of a place to stand still. Jonas leads her toward the old storehouse, its door hanging crooked, but still able to keep wind out. Inside, dust floats like slow-moving snow in the slanted light. Shelves stand half-empty flour, dried apples, a few tins. Nothing special. But to someone who arrived with nothing, it feels like abundance. You can rest here a while, Jonah says. Place is quiet. Folks won't bother you. Her jaw tightens at the word folks, but she nods. She steps inside cautiously, like the floorboards might judge her. The air smells of cedar and old rope cleaner than most places she's known. Jonas lingers in the doorway. If you're hungry, I'll warm something. Lydia presses her hand to the wooden table, steadying herself. Why are you helping me? He studies her for a long, thoughtful beat. Because you look like someone who hasn't heard the word safe in a long time. Her breath catches. She hadn't expected honesty or kindness. Outside, distant thunder rumbles, soft but growing. Something is coming. Something she hoped she'd outrun. By late afternoon, the sky has turned the color of bruised steel. Wind pushes through Dry Creek with a warning in its breath, rattling loose shutters and whispering along the eaves. Lydia stands near the storehouse window, watching the horizon darken. She recognizes storms the weather kind, and the kind that wear boots. Jonah steps inside, carrying a small kettle. Steam rises in soft curls. Storm will break before sundown, he says. Best stay put. But she isn't looking at the clouds. Her eyes fix on a distant shape moving along the far ridge slow. It's deliberate, too steady to be weather. Jonas follows her gaze. Someone you know. Her fingers grip the windowsill until her knuckles whiten. Someone who shouldn't have found me. Jonas doesn't ask for details. He simply moves closer, not invading her space, but standing where she can lean if she needs to. You're not alone here, he says, quietly. For the first time, she lets that truth settle into her bones. But outside, the rider keeps coming. The storm breaks with a low, rolling growl, shaking the loose boards of Dry Creek. Jonas steps outside, just long enough to latch the shutters. Rain spitting against his shoulders. Lydia stays near the doorframe, glued to the ridge where the rider vanished into the hardening dusk. But she knows men like him don't disappear. They circle. They wait. They enjoy the hunt. When Jonas comes back in, water dripping from his hair, he studies her carefully. Tell me what he wants. Lydia swallows. The truth is heavy, but carrying it alone has nearly broken her. He's looking for someone who refused to stay quiet, she says. Someone who left a life she wasn't supposed to walk away from. Jonas's jaw tightens not with anger, but with recognition. The frontier is full of people trying to outrun unfair stories told about them. Then he won't decide your fate here, Jonas says. Not while I'm standing. Crack of lightning floods the room with white light. For the first time, Lydia steps closer, not hiding, but choosing proximity. Outside, hoofbeats echo again. Night drops fast, thick as ink, wrapping Dry Creek in a uneasy quiet. The storm softens into a steady patter, but beneath it, Lydia hears something else. Measured hoofbeats, circling the outskirts of town like a hawk testing wind. Jonas stands beside her, lantern low, jaw set. He's probing, Jonas murmurs, seeing if you'll panic. I used to, she says, voice barely above breath. Panic made me easy to control. Not anymore. A flicker of strength rises in her chest, small but real. She steps toward the center of the storehouse, rain tapping the roof like a ticking clock. I'm tired of being hunted. Jonas nods once. Then tomorrow, we end the chase. Sheriff rides in at dawn. Once he's here, the law speaks louder than fear. Lydia exhales slowly. For the first time, she allows herself to imagine a future instead of an escape route. Outside, the hoofbeats stop. Silence presses against the walls. He's closer than ever, but she doesn't collapse this time. She steels her spine. Tomorrow, she faces the truth. Tomorrow, she stops running. Dawn crawls slow over Dry Creek, gray at first, then warming to a thin gold that paints the wet rooftops. Lydia stands outside the storehouse, shawl wrapped tight, breath clouding in steady, controlled exhales. She's not hiding today, not bending, not shrinking. Jonas waits beside her, calm as a rooted pine. The sheriff's silhouette appears on the ridge just as the lone rider steps forward from the opposite side, hat low. Posture stiff with entitlement. He wasn't expecting witnesses. He certainly wasn't expecting law. The sheriff reins in his horse, voice firm. "Rider, state your purpose." The man barely glances at Lydia before spitting out, "She belongs to me." Lydia steps forward before Jonas can. "I belong to no one." The sheriff's gaze sharpens. "Got papers, claims." The rider blusters, but the truth shows he has nothing except a habit of owning people with fear. The sheriff dismounts, slow and deliberate. "Then you've got no rights here." The man stiffens, realizing the hunt is over. Jonas glances at Lydia. She isn't trembling. She's breathing. For the first time, the past doesn't command her. She does.